Welcome back to the Wildly Wealthy Woman podcast. Today we're going to talk about how I had my first 10K month as an EFT practitioner and how you can do it too. When I first started tapping, I didn't even think it was possible for me to have a 6 or 7 figure business. I knew that I was really good at helping people. I knew that I was really good at this technique, but I didn't know what it would lead to until I started down the path. And I remember at the beginning, my first offer coming out of tapping school was $150 for a tapping session with a minimum commitment of 5 sessions. And how I sold these was over sales calls. So I would do a 20-minute free introductory call where I asked a series of questions, which if you're in tapping school, you know what those questions are, that helped me understand what people's problems were, how tapping could help them, and if they were a right fit to work with me. And I'll never forget one of the things my mentor told me at the time is you are interviewing them just as much as they are interviewing you. Because working with people at this level is very intimate, very deep work, and you want to make sure that it's a good fit for both of you. And having a 10K month as a tapping practitioner just felt like a wild dream. But today I really want to share with you exact steps that I took in my journey to having a 10K month, and most importantly, how you can too. So at the beginning, I was just working one-on-one with people. It was just word of mouth. I live in a very small community of 8,000 people. So working out of yoga studios, at the beginning, I just offered free sessions to get the word out. And I'll never forget the very first client I had gave me $10. It was like sessions by donations, and he paid me $10. And I remember cheering to the universe like, yay, I just got paid to do the work that I love. I know that this is just the beginning. And I was also working at an accounting office. So I was doing bookkeeping as well as a coffee shop. You know, young single mama doing what it takes to make it work. I remember going to the coffee shop at 5 a.m. and listening to Lewis Howes podcasts saying one day I'll be the one on the other side of the headphone interviewing people and having my own company. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew that tapping would get me there if I continued to do my own work. So one day I went home from the bookkeeping office for lunch, and I felt like I was continuing to listen to the podcast of people doing the big things. And I felt like I have to get out. I have to get out of the little town that I'm in, and I need to get into bigger circles, bigger communities. And so I sat at lunch that day and I wrote a letter to the universe. And I said, I want to be surrounded by women who are doing the things that I do, who are entrepreneurial, who are ambitious. I want to get in the rooms. And by the end of that day, by that afternoon, I had scrolled up upon a post on Facebook, and I was in the Female Entrepreneur Association community. So this was a community out of England, but someone had written in the group, and that person was fairly local to me. She was about 3 hours away, and she was hosting an event where you could win a spot to speak. And the way you won was by selling the most tickets. So as I was a young mom, so I didn't really have the money to go, but I was like, I could sell the spots. So I joined the competition. I won the speaking spot and got on that stage. Now, my first speech was not the prettiest. I was very nervous, but the tapping with the audience was really cool because I was different than other speakers. I gave people an experience, not just talked at them the whole time. And that room was full of women that were successful in business, and they watched me move the room. They felt how I moved them with tapping, and I started to get invitations to come and speak in their Facebook groups. So from that event, I met someone, her name's Jaya Rose. She's a really good friend of mine now. And she was talking about doing Facebook Lives because Facebook Live had just come out. It was a brand new feature, and that was her business, a program called Rock Your Videos. And she's like, you have to get on Facebook Live. So I was brave and I decided to go live on Facebook. And I'll never forget that first live. I decided to tap on anxiety. One of the first times I ever tapped. It was, I think, the first time I ever tapped on a Facebook Live. I was like, I'm going to tap on anxiety. But it was pretty nerve-wracking going live on Facebook to all the friends that I'd grown up with and family members. And I'm doing this really weird thing, tapping on my face and talking about my feelings. But I thought, whatever, what do I have to lose? I'm just going to stay where I am if I don't try it. So I tried it. And I got all these messages from people saying, wow, this really helped me. Wow, how did you know that that's how I felt? And I always joke because on the live, I probably looked like I was having an anxiety attack because I was very stressed about being live. But I got these messages that saying, thank you, this helped me. And so from there, I decided, okay, I'm going to tap once a week. I'm going to call it Tapping Tuesday. I'll tap on just different topics that people say they need. And I started to see themes. The women that I tapped with, they would ask for sessions on things like overcoming the fear of playing small, overcoming the fear of being seen, overcoming stress about money or relationships. And so I just served with whatever they asked for. I would tap on every single week. And what this did was it grew my audience. And I didn't really realize it until I hit this moment where each week more and more people were coming. And my coach said to me at the time, Jackie, these people, they want to buy from you. They are ready for you to sell them something. And up until this point, I was just doing $150 a session for a minimum of 5 sessions, which is still a great payment, right? That's still a great price to be paid. But this is where the idea to run a group program came in. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to create a 6-week program. I called it the Sacred Success Circle. So it was for women who wanted to achieve success, but they're spiritual women. And I charged $800 and I had 6 women join. And that brought in $6,400. So that was pretty life-changing. I remember after that, I booked my daughter a trip to Disneyland. It was her first trip to Disneyland because I was like, wow, this is life-changing money. And in between that time, I meant to bring this up before, I was still working at the coffee shop and being a bookkeeper. I decided one day I was going to host an EFT workshop, learn the basics of EFT. And I charged $99. It was an hour class on Zoom, and 5 people joined. And I remember driving to pick my daughter up from school that day. And that drive is sort of like imprinted in my mind because so many times I did that drive and was worried about money. But that day it was different. I was sitting outside her school and I just realized I made $500 in 1 hour. And that's what I was making in a week at the coffee shop. And the light bulb went off. I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Wasting my time working at a coffee shop when I could be hosting these free EFT, or not free, but these EFT classes for $100, having 5 people join. That's paying for the whole week. And that's really the first mindset shift that I had was I need to be better with my time and I can create these really easy offers for people to come into. So we went from the $150 session in yoga studios to speaking on stage, tapping in my own Facebook group, tapping in other people's Facebook groups for Tapping Tuesday, hosting these $99 Learn to Tap classes. And then I remember it was February, I want to say 2018-ish. And I went to a retreat in Arizona, and there were people there that had tapped with me on those free Tapping Tuesdays. And one of the women said to me, why don't you run like some kind of challenge, like you tap every day? And that just sort of planted in my mind. And I thought, okay, it kind of was in there, but I never did anything with it right away. And then I thought, if I was to show up for myself and tap every day, I could just invite people to join me and I'll just do it for 21 days. Let's just see what happens. So I put one post out on Facebook, said, hey, I'm thinking of running a 21-day tapping challenge. Would anyone be interested? And I had 183 people comment. And I was like, okay, I'm going to run the 21 days of tapping and affirmations for $21. So that was $3,780 from a $21 offer with no ads, just posting on Facebook. It wasn't even on Instagram yet. And this is a really important point because especially in this economy, low priced offers like this are working really well. And what those low price offers do is it comes in and gives people an experience. I often say tapping is better experience and explained. And once they had the experience and they had the results, because people started getting results by day 5, they were telling me these stories of how they manifested their dream home, their dream job, a new partner. I was like, whoa. Then people were sold and they wanted more. And so that was sort of a leaping moment for me where I went from the under $1,000 price point to $2,500 for 3 months. And that was life-changing. Like having one-on-one clients pay me $2,500 for 3 months. I mean, that was really good money back in 2018, 2019. And I just needed 2 or 3 clients, and that was more than enough. And I had quit my job at the bookkeeping a year or so prior to that. I was making do with all these little one-off programs, but that formula, the $2,500 for 3 months, was something I could sell consistently, and it was an easy yes for people because they could pay on a monthly plan or they could pay in full. And for those of you that are considering tapping school, that is a really good price point that I recommend starting with. It's doing a package of 3 months, $2,500, doing a monthly payment plan. That is a very reasonable place for you to start. And you only need to sell 2 of those to cover your cost of tapping school. And I'm really excited to be offering more detailed templates within tapping school this year to show you how to have what's called a 4-week booking sprint, how to fill those 3 spots within 4 weeks. So if you guys have already joined, you know you'll get that bonus. But if you're still thinking about it, I am going to open up that bonus for a limited time because I really believe in showing you exactly what to do and making it super simple. Obviously, these are different ways that I've made 10K, but there was another leap from that point. I started to realize, I can trade for my time for money on one-on-ones. I had run a short group program that had worked, but people kept asking me, and this is another key, notice what people are asking you for, to teach them how to tap. And I rejected this for a long time because my tapping philosophy isn't the same as traditional EFT. And I don't want to ruffle feathers. I don't want to make anyone mad in the industry. Just go to whoever else's certification. And people kept saying, no, I want to learn the way you do it. And so I worked with my friend Megan Hale, and she showed me how I could create one core offer that covers 12 months of my income. And that's what tapping school is today. Same thing, just put out a post on Facebook. Hey, I'm thinking of teaching 6 people how to tap and starting my first tapping certification. Would you be interested? Boom, right away, 4 people joined. And so I took them through the process over 4 months, I think. And then I did it again, and I had another 6 people join. And it just started to build momentum. People continued to join. And when I had my first 6-figure month, it was through tapping school using affiliates. And this is something that if you're in sales school for healers, I talk a lot about. And affiliates work well for people like us because when people tap with us, they have an experience and then they tell people about it, right? Because I always say tapping's better experienced and explained. And they're like, oh, I came in and I felt really tired or anxious. And then we did this thing and I realized all this other stuff that was going on. This was the root of it. Now my migraines are gone and I'm sleeping way better. And all these cool things have manifested in my life. So I realized word of mouth affiliate marketing was going to work for me. And that's how I had my first 6-figure month. And it was by selling tapping school, but by getting people who had already experienced tapping with me to help sell it, just getting them to post on Facebook, pushing everyone into a 4-day free training called Learn to Tap, and then from there, selling into tapping school. So obviously that was way more than a 10K month. That was a 6-figure month that taught me so much. It taught me a lot about how to hold that many people. It taught me a lot about money and hiring team and all the things you learn as you grow. Then from that point, I started to learn more about how to speak to high-level clients. And from regular tapping school, we had advanced EFT, which is everyone's absolute favorite if you know advanced. But then from there, I think that I could run a mastermind. People were buying everything from me. They were coming to the end of the funnel and they're like, what's next? And that's when I was, okay, I'm going to run a mastermind. And the mastermind was called the Wildly Wealthy Woman Mastermind. It was a year. It was $20,000 for the year. And it included private tapping session with me once a month, and then group tapping every other week with special guests included. It also included a retreat, and those sold very well. I was kind of nervous because I've never done this one before, but it's actually so much easier to sell at that price point than it is sometimes to sell the $2,500 or the $21 price point even, because the mentality of the client is just different. They are the type of person that They don't need a lot of hand holding. They're in. I've experienced you. I know that tapping works. I want this and I'm all in. And so that was another really big leap for me that I had to do my own work around, feeling worthy of receiving that money, being very clear on who this kind of offer is for. And I spent a year, actually last year, I spent the year coaching with someone named Leanne Lopez Mosley, who really taught me how to call in high-end buyers. And a lot of that has to do with your messaging and how you create content and the quality of content you create. And so if these are things that interest you, having high ticket offers. So a high ticket offer, I would say, is considered anywhere above $1,000, between 1,000 and 10,000, and then the 20,000 is at the whole other level. But if this is something that interests you, it's absolutely possible tapping. You can run high-level masterminds. You can have high-level coaching with EFT, especially if you take tapping school, because we make sure that you are the best in the business. And we also teach you how to tap through your own beliefs around feeling worthy of that kind of money. So, different ways to create your first 10K month. You can just do one-on-ones, like a one-off session, or I recommend a 3-month offer for $2,500. That's a really great place to start. You can do a group program where, especially if you have other modalities or other things that you're already doing, you can add that in, tapping into it. And the other one I forgot to mention was retreats. I started running retreats in between that $2,500 mark and tapping school. I started to run retreat weekends. So it was $2,500 for 3 days. I'd sell 6 spots. It was $15,000 in a weekend. And the secret to successful retreats is always selling something on the back end. So once you host a retreat, having something for them to come into next. And I have found 9 times out of 10, even if people don't buy at the retreat, they usually buy within 3 months. And that rule is still true for me today. What I want you to hear today is that your first 10K is not as far away as you think. I started small, I showed up consistently, I packaged my work, and I let it grow. And that's exactly what we'll show you how to do inside of Tapping School, specifically our business brainstorming calls. The doors are open for Tapping School until October 2nd, so this is a limited time. If you have been waiting for a sign, this is your sign to join us. It always finds you when you're ready for it. So I invite you to come and join us. You can send me a message if you have questions about how tapping might work for you. We can map out your first 10K month with tapping. I'm so happy to hop on a phone call and do that with you. And if you love this, if you found value from this today, I would love it if you gave it a share. All right, can't wait to see you in Tapping School. Until next time, bye for now.